So, back again for Sports Corner, this time episode 3. We're going to do something a bit different this time. The last 2 weeks have been focusing on rugby league and the Newcastle Knights. We're going to try something a little bit different sport this week, just to shake it up. So, as always, I've got this disclaimer. Unfortunately, I don't want people doing the wrong thing. So, look, the opinions, as I said, I'm a qualified orthopaedic surgeon. I've done training in all modalities of orthopaedics, but also particularly in foot and ankle. The opinions I've got here, certainly I've got a professional opinion, but I haven't assessed these players. The information is off news media. I don't know the parties that are involved in actually assessing these players, so I'm speculating off the knowledge that I've got. And as always, the opinions here that I give are designed to educate those who are interested in these types of injuries and their recovery. But if you do believe you're suffering something similar, I strongly urge you to see your doctor. These videos are not meant for you to base your treatment for yourself. Okay. Knowing this, we're going to move on to the AFL, and we're looking at an injury date in one of the favourite sons of AFL, his son. So Tom Hurd is the son of James Hurd from the Essendon Bombers, and he's just been diagnosed with navicular stress fracture and the news media is saying he's out for the entire season. So the question then is, what is a stress fracture? Because you might have heard it multiple times, and what's the difference between that and a normal fracture? This is how medicine involves it. It talks about microscopic injuries, submaximal stress. But when we talk about words like that, often all of us get very confused. So to put it bluntly, basically what it means is that your bone is copying pressure. That's not enough to break it straight up, but that pressure over and over weakens the bone, and so you get a little crack in it, which causes pain. But often you can still move and walk on it, but it's very painful, and it's really a niggling injury. And so then the question is, what is the navicular? So the navicular is a horse-shaped bone like that. It sits here on an X-ray of your foot. I'm just going to point it out here, if I can get my arm out of the way. So it's that horse-shaped bone there. It's very important. It articulates, so it's got a joint with a bone called the talus, and that joint that it makes is called the talonavicular joint. We're going to draw it here, and it really is responsible for a lot of the movement that you have in your foot, especially sideways. Now, symptoms you might have if you've got a navicular stress fracture, they tend to be very vague, and you won't have had a particular injury generally, and most people point to pain over the top of the foot, and that's what's called poorly localized pain, so you can't point exactly with one finger where it is. It's worse with sports that push off or jump or run, so things like AFL, gymnastics are particularly prone to it. And the average delay to diagnosis is 4 months, which is huge. There's many things in medicine that don't take that long to be diagnosed. It's because it doesn't have a particular injury pattern, and it's a vague pain. And the other thing is these weight-bearing x-rays. The x-rays are excellent for picking up things. That's the navicular there that we're marking out. Unfortunately, they actually miss the injury in about 66%, so 2/3 of cases. And so you've got to be suspicious for it. And if the patient hasn't really improved after 6 weeks without an obvious mode of injury, then you need to think about things like MRIs and CAT scans of the foot to try and pick this injury up. So here is our navicular. We're now going to talk to what are the types of navicular stress fracture are. Now, the typical navicular way it looks like that, like a horseshoe, is if we're looking at it from the foot from the top down. But the way we actually grade the types of navicular stress fracture, we actually grade them in a way that we're looking at them from the front of the foot straight at it. And so then our horseshoe-shaped bone no longer looks like a horse shape when you look at it in a different direction. It actually looks like a sort of an overly blocked type of picture like this one I'm drawing here. Okay. And so now we can get on to the particular types, because that navicular block will be cracked in certain ways depending on the type. And that has an implication for how quickly you can get back to sport. So a type 1 will just be a little crack in the top, as we circle here. Okay? A type 2 navicular stress fracture goes further, and it goes into what's called the body of the navicular, so sort of towards the middle of it, so it's a bit of a weaker type bone in the middle. And that is worse obviously than a type 1. Type 3, which is the worst of the navicular stress fractures, it actually propagates through to another cortex. What I mean by cortex is sort of the outer rim of the bone. But this has implications. What I'm writing in red here is what the return to play or recovery time is for each of these injuries, and it gets bigger as you go along. So if you have a type 3, it can get up to 6 to 8 months. That's recorded what the average time for players to get back. And on average with these type of injuries, no matter what type you have, you usually miss a season in sport, and that's consistent with what Tom Hurd's got. He's been put out for the entire season, even though there's a substantial part of the season left. Now the good news is the treatment is largely simple. It usually means what we call a short leg cluster below the knee for a period of at least 6 weeks, and you can't be walking on the leg for that period of 6 weeks, or it's known that it's less likely to heal. And the other thing is you really need to refrain from the sports that provoke the pain, so there's those running, jumping sports, and in Tom Hurd's case it'll be AFL. And that works in about 96% of cases, so that's a lot, right? Some people need more time off it in plaster, but most of the time that works. Now, what's the chance of refraction with all this? So you get better, but you go back and you play AFL. Well, it's actually about 11%, even 5 years after the time you've originally injured it. So it's still pretty reasonable, okay? And so the other question is, well, what if the plaster and the resting don't work? They still get pain. Well, unfortunately, it usually means surgery. That means roughening up the fracture and putting a screw across it, like we can see on the X-ray here. So here we are, navicular stress fractures. They're an annoying injury. Hopefully Tom Hurd gets better. Good luck to him. And if you've got any other questions or you're interested in any of our other videos, come to www.hunterfootandankle.com.au.